Matt, where is the traffic mitigation for El Camino Real and Palomar?
What we do as far as traffic mitigation is every year or on a periodic basis, we go out and test our roads and test our intersections. And we do that, like I say, on a periodic basis. I'm not sure what the number is right now, at what that's rated at. I do realize in certain intersections we're having difficulties. That is why we have invested in new automated signalization with the latest technology. We've already bought that technology and we'll be implementing it over the next 2 years. What we're experiencing is a lot of cut-through traffic right now and going to our job center. We employ about 45,000 people out in the Palomar area. And so what we haven't seen recently is an increase in housing. Everybody says the housing numbers are out of control. The housing numbers are really been the lowest they've been in over almost 50 years per year.
Corey?
Would you mind repeating the question, please?
Sure. What is the traffic mitigation for El Camino Real and Palomar Airport Road?
Okay, thank you very much. And first I want to go back and clarify that I'm not serving on Sandag, so when he said I went down to Sandag and broke ranks, that's completely false as well. I actually am not serving on Sandag currently, so there's no way for me to actually call for a vote at Sandag. And he should know this because he actually appointed 2 other individuals to Sandag this year. So as far as the El Camino Real and Palomar Airport intersection and traffic mitigation on that, one of the things that's really difficult about this, as was mentioned, is that we have a lot of planning that has been, planning and jobs that have been placed east of the 78. So we have a lot of cross-through traffic, and this has to do actually with the way that Sandag has regionally planned over time. We have a lot of the affordable housing east, and then we have a lot of the jobs, the 3-to-1 ratio of jobs to per capita that you keep hearing. Well, those are low service jobs in the hospitality sector, so we have a lot of folks who are actually driving in to Carlsbad to fill those jobs. Only 15% of Carlsbad residents actually live in Carlsbad. So the signal synchronization, 10 years is a little too late.
Corey, correct yourself on that 15%, please.
Matt, Carlsbad has identified 5 industries that are important to our economy: action sports, communication, clean tech, hospitality, and life sciences. How do you propose to attract and retain businesses in these 5 industries?
So let me just give you one example, and I'm going to start with Viasat in 2010. Viasat at that moment in time was done with California, and they were going to move either to Denver, Texas, or Georgia. It was us sitting down with them. When I say us, it was staff, myself, and Ted Owen from the chamber. And when we left that room, we thought, oh my Lord, what are we going to do? We were able to continue a conversation which led to the building of 140,000 feet right across the road, which represented 400 jobs. We built such a good working relationship with that organization that they went on to build what you're seeing today. That is 2,000 jobs. For those of you who have worked at Viasat, and I'm sure there's some of you in the room, they average well over $100,000 per person. So those are the kind of jobs we first want to retain here and then grow. We've also brought in other industries. DNA electronics is one. Go ahead, Corey.
Oh, sure. And I'll just repeat what I said at the end there because a lot of folks didn't hear me, but it's the 10 years for planning for synchronization of our signals is 10 years too late. We need to get that done yesterday. The largest complaint that our small and large businesses have for their challenge for bringing in our new employees is affordable housing. So it's the same problem we keep hearing over and over and over again. We've got people who want to come here to work, but they can't afford the living situation. So we need to do a couple different things. We need to revisit our inclusionary housing ordinance and ensure that we're not allowing for developers to purchase their way out of building the actual affordable housing where they need to. We also need to ensure that we're opening up, like I said, the shops area in order to get the workforce housing in there, because the businesses and the jobs for the businesses are important, but it's also important for us to be able to create affordable living situations for teachers, for nurses, for our police department, for our fire department. because that's a challenge for them too. So affordable housing is the key issue that we keep hearing from businesses in Carlsbad as their key issue in getting employees here.
Corey, here's a question from a bike rider. It's, what is your position
Did I
on
get a chance to
roundabouts?
respond?
Pardon me?
Did I get a chance to respond?
Oh, on the question of, oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
So ladies and gentlemen, since 1994 in the introduction of the growth management plan, 15% of everything that's been built is deed restricted affordable housing. That was 5% in 1994, that was 5% more than anybody else was doing. So we have a track record, especially if you go back to 1990 and the project that was done in conjunction with Aviara, of always building an affordable component to everything that was being built. One of the things that we realized in working with the five mayors across the 78 corridor, and Jim's here tonight, the mayor of San Marcos, is that jobs are the centerpiece. Then we need to, by working together and creating the housing stock, instead of just looking at one city, we found it much better to look at the region. And so instead of looking by boundaries around a city, we looked at it as a corridor by each of us would share in the jobs and in the housing. And it's paid off in not only bringing jobs here, but providing the affordability and everything else. Working to...
Matt, I apologize for overlooking on that.
Do I get 10 minutes, I mean, do I get another 10 seconds?
No, you can answer the bicycle question. What's your feeling about roundabouts?
Roundabouts are a tool that's in for your traffic and what you can do in a different way of going about it. There are some areas where a roundabout works very well, and there's other areas that they do not. I can tell you, I believe it was Cassia, they do not work well. They were bad. But there are other areas that I think they will work very well, and we see that. Like coming into Legoland, and you look at the roundabout there. I have never received one complaint on that roundabout, and so we just got to be careful on where we use that tool and where we locate them. But they do have a plan.
Corey, about roundabouts?
Sure. The safest place for a bike to be in a roundabout is dead center, right in the middle of the road. So there's increased visibility. So that's pretty tough when you're thinking about trying to re-educate quite a number of people in using roundabouts, and then also teaching our through the Bike Coalition how to use the roundabouts, because otherwise the turning is a big problem for bikes. So Cassia, Kelly, bad roundabouts, and we've removed those. You saw that. And then along the Terramar Coastal Corridor, there's multiple roundabouts that are currently being planned, and council is going to be having a conversation about those. But when it comes to complete streets and ensuring that bikes as well as pedestrians are protected and safe, roundabouts aren't always the best for certain locations, and we need to be very careful about how we're modeling those. And recently the traffic engineers in our traffic department, have started using a new methodology in calculating those types of features.